Hey guys, what's going on? It's Daitooka, and I'm back with another Season 4 changes and impressions video, and this time we're going to be talking about the balance changes and new moves of my second main character, which is Master Raven. I've been maining Raven for a relatively short amount of time, but I thought it'd be cool to still discuss the changes that she's seen in Season 4, as well as how they've really affected her gameplay, and as well as just my thoughts and opinions on all the changes. One of the biggest changes that Raven has seen in Season 4 is actually a much needed quality of life fix to her rage drive. Essentially, previously in Season 3, her rage drive is not very consistent at certain angles. So of course, from front on, you could still transition to the last hit there, or the last two hits rather. But previously, depending on some angles from the side, you actually was very inconsistent to transitioning to the second part of the rage drive here. So we can see now that this has been completely fixed in Season 4 now, whereas previously it wouldn't work. So this is a big buff. I'm definitely really happy for this change, and it's something that should have been working from the beginning, but it just wasn't. Like, a lot of things that Raven has just don't work because of some weird hitboxes, but it's good to see that the balancing team has, listened to us for some of the Raven fixes that we've needed. Overall, an awesome change to see. The next change that Raven has seen in Season 4 is a change to her back 3. So, back 3 is a move that I see very seldom used in neutral prior in Season 3, because it had too much pushback to really, give you any frame advantage or any real use of your frame advantage on block. But now they've actually made it a lot more usable. They've actually gone ahead and buffed it in Season 4 by actually decreasing the distance between Raven and the opponent when it's blocked. So you can see here, back 3 on block, they are super close. They are definitely not going anywhere. Whereas before, even, at such short frame advantage, before the opponent was actually quite far away due to the pushback. But they've definitely noticeably decreased this. So it's really awesome to see. I really do like this change, and personally I think it just makes the move a lot more viable in neutral situations. The move itself is quite slow in my opinion. It's 27 frames. You have a lot of time there to really be interrupted, but now I think it makes the move a lot more scarier in neutral, because you can't really go anywhere after this on block. Again, another really awesome change to see here for Raven. The next change we're going to get into for Raven is actually her new move. So Raven's new move in Season 4 is actually a new string off of her one jab. The new move for the input is 1-1-4. All hits are mids, and on normal hit, only the last two hits are actually a natural combo. Of course, a one jab is +1 on block. The second part of the string, which is 1-1, is -9 on block and +2 on hit. And of course, the third part actually knocks down the opponent. But on block, I'll try and demonstrate here. On block, it is -14. And you actually also, even though it kind of looks like it, you actually can't hit confirm this move. But essentially, on successful hit, the last hit will leave you in back turn. Just be aware that it is -14. So, also for people playing against Raven, just be aware as the positioning and the positioning of Raven in this animation makes a lot of characters one jabs whiff here. So I've set Raven to parry after this hit. So if you're too slow, she can parry out of this. So depending on the character, it'll be different in this situation. But if you have Raven in this situation, it's best to always use a move that's 14 frames or quicker, and preferably not a high. So try to use a 14 frame mid or quicker to avoid not punishing her correctly. On counter hit, this move really shines. The full string is guaranteed if the first jab, the actual one jab itself, is a counter hit. So it means you can actually get a full knockdown off of a one jab now with Raven, which is kind of crazy to think about. But this is actually especially strong at the wall. I'll demonstrate this for you now. So now with this new move, if you happen to catch your opponent with a counter hit jab, you have access to all of this damage now. Oh my gosh, insane. 75 damage at the wall just because you can hit jab your opponent. That is quite strong. It leads to a massive combo. Very, very good move here. The move also itself has utility as a wall combo. I'll demonstrate that now. So after the wall combo hits, she's left in back turn. When your opponent gets up, you actually have plus frames in this situation to a point where you can pretty much apply a back turn mix up here. Either apply a back turn mix up or just go for a safe move in back turn. Again, you're free to do pretty much whatever you want here. I'll try and demonstrate it in a full combo. So something like that, and the main difference with it now is it actually has some decent damage, but the main benefit for it is actually its use as back turn Oki after a wall combo. I'll show you what I mean. So we do a pretty basic combo. So you can see there, full scaling on the last hit, sorry, half scaling on the last hit there. And Raven is left in back turn and your opponent is forced to essentially deal with your back turn mix up. So from here, you can go for a safe move, you can go for a low, you can go for a rather safe low. You can do pretty much anything here. Your opponent is pretty much forced to deal with a back turn 50-50 mix up in theory. Of course, they can stay down, but you have avenues of dealing with that too. At first glance, I really thought this move was going to be... I thought it was going to be completely useless, I'm not going to lie, but after some use in matches, I really realized that it does have a lot of potential when used well. The string becomes very useful for creating a big combo, you know, out of pretty much nothing. If you're at the wall and you catch your opponent with a counter hit jab, again, like I showed before, you have massive amounts of damage that you can get out of that. I really do like this new string, and although it does have its benefits, I really don't think I'll be, you know, pulling it out that much. I still think it is a bit risky at -14. There are some characters that, of course, can punish you quite severely for using a move like that. But yeah, again, I do like it. I don't think I'll be using it too much, though. See what I mean? Back turn mix up. Oh, nice. There's probably certain players that don't realize that there is a back turn mix up going on there, where there is a dangerous mid that I can use there instead. But yeah, again, this is something to experiment with. Back turn mix up. Let's see if you... Yep, sorry. When you stay down, you can actually use back turn 1+2 to beat them there. Raven's 3 delayed 4 is one of my favorite moves of hers, actually. And in Season 4, they've actually gone ahead and buffed this move quite a bit. So if you guys don't know, it is Raven's cartwheel. Which of course can be tricky because you can transition into a haze transition, which often leaves you behind your opponent. And there's quite a bit of mind game within itself. There's a massive mind game here, but they've actually gone ahead and buffed this by actually improving the consistency on hit. So they've essentially reduced the distance on hit between the character and the opponent and Raven on hit, meaning that if you do happen to catch your opponent with the first part of this move, the second kick is no longer going to whiff like it did sometimes before. So that issue is completely gone. They've also actually increased the airborne status. So now the airborne status are from, I think it's frames, so frame 17 to 31 from the move startup. Considering it has a 25 frame startup, that's quite significant. It's not exactly, you know, I wouldn't call this an orbital heal because it definitely isn't. But, you know, increasing the airborne status for this move makes it a lot more safer to punish people's low get-up kicks. Overall, an awesome buff, and I think it was needed for the move. Now, Raven has some sneaky hurt boxes when it comes to her high crushing lows, and thus in Season 4, they've actually altered a lot of moves that were high crush moves or high evading moves, so that they were more consistent when it comes to an opponent punishing you with a mid. So they've done this with Haze 3, they've done this with the first part of the Hell Sweep. So essentially this just means now with adjusting this animation is just going to make it easier for your opponent to actually punish you for this now. I think it was a fair change overall, and you know, I don't really think it would be fair to have such good lows that she has, high crushing lows that is, or high evading lows. that would also tend to evade some mids, and crush some mids that they weren't meant to. So again, great job to the balancing team. I really think this was a fair change for Raven here. Now, this change here is potentially one of the biggest buffs for Raven in my opinion. I think it's one of her most important moves, and it is a change to her forward 2. So forward 2-3 is one of my favorite strings of hers, just due to its reach as well as long range whiff punish potential. That's, you know, hit confirmable, it's +6 on hits, and it's relatively safe. It's only -10, and even at some ranges you actually can't be punished. But for Season 4, they've actually very noticeably increased the range of forward 2, the first hit itself, to the point that it's actually almost ridiculous as to how far it reaches. Yeah, that definitely did not hit before. This is one I noticed straight away when I was playing in matches. Not only does this improve, you know, pushback moves punishment consistency, such as, you know, you have Heihachi's forward 4-2, you have Paul's Death Fist, but it also gives Raven a relatively safe and long-range keep-out tool, as well as a space control move. I think with the increased range, it's also meant that it's not as easy to be stepped anymore, because this move could be stepped. It was hard, but you could step this move before, and I haven't noticed it being stepped by this move anymore. Oh, sorry, being stepped when using this move anymore. I've absolutely been loving this change here. Forward 2 again is one of my favorite moves, and I'm really happy that they buffed the range here. It makes you know, Raven's space control a lot stronger now. Look at the range on that. Nah, I'm loving this range, man. This range is making the moves so much better. I don't have to do anything. Just stay back and use this. Now, they've also actually buffed a move that isn't used too much by Raven players, but it's Raven's forward 3-2. So it's a 2-part stream. The first part is homing, and the second part is a knockdown. Previously, it was always a knockdown no matter what, but they've actually buffed this move by adding a counter hit stun to the last part of the move. So of course, if the last part of the move is counter hit, you can actually counter hit stun your opponent. I can see this being used in some setup situations. However, it's not a move I personally really look to use because it is quite unsafe. It's -14 on block. It's definitely a big buff to the string. I think adding any counter hit stun to any move is always going to be a great buff to a character. However, I think personally that the risk of this move on block being -14 isn't quite really worth a potential counter hit. Forward 3 itself is a good quick homing move, like I said, and it also has back turn advantage also on hits, so you're +5. But overall, I guess it would be okay to chuck the last hit out every now and then to an unsuspecting opponent. But again, don't go chucking this move out now that it does counter hit launch now. Raven has received a big buff to her down 4 with increased range also, so this is a load that I really like to use because it's really quick to crush highs, and it's also relatively safe, and it did even before have quite a good reach. Personally, I'm not really sure whether it was really necessary, but they've definitely noticeably increased the range of down 4 here. Yeah, I can 100% notice it, and I don't, you know, again, I don't really think it was quite necessary, as it was already pretty good. However, this will just greatly improve her range when it comes to her low pokes. Another consistency change that they've made for Raven in Season 4 is a change to her down back 2-1. So this is Raven's 13 frame elbow string so it's seen some consistency buffs here in Season 4. They've made changes to the pushback of actually both hits, so it's made it a lot easier to land in certain combos. Furthermore, that they've actually increased the lower range of the first part of the move. So down back 2 has actually seen increased lower hitbox here. Combos like this now work on most characters. Before, I believe it was only big characters. Someone correct me if I'm wrong there. Personally, I'm not too worried about how this affects combos. I'm more actually curious in the future to find how this increased lower range for down back 2 will affect certain matchups where, you know, with evasive characters such as Xiaoyu or Zafina, because I know that before, down back 2 would whiff in a lot of situations such as AOP. But yeah, again, overall, I think it's a really good buff here. Down back 3 of Ravens was also another move where they changed the motion so it was easier for you to be punished by a mid and not crush some mids as you used to before. but they've actually gone ahead and made the opponent closer on hits now. So this means you can really take advantage of your +5 here. Previously, some follow-ups, even on some ranges, while standing 2 was actually quite easy to whiff here. Now your opponent is, dead on you on hit. They really cannot do anything in this situation. They have to respect the while standing 2 here, otherwise they will be counter hit launched. This is a very strong change to this move, and it was already quite strong before, and it just makes it even stronger now. I am really liking this change. Raven's back turn forward 3 has actually seen some changes in Season 4 also, which I didn't really expect, but they've gone ahead and changed a lot of the properties on it. So, previously back turn forward 3 is useful as a 13 frame counter hit knockdown tool out of back turn, which gives a similar knockdown to forward 4. So I'll just demonstrate this here. So again, you get guaranteed damage off of this, but apart from it providing that counter hit knockdown with guaranteed follow-up, its other properties weren't too great. For Season 4, they've actually changed the startup very slightly so that it is actually varied between 13 and 14 frames. I'm not really sure what this change really accomplishes, but they've also slightly decreased the frame advantage, the frame disadvantage, making it -6 on block instead of -8. So this is a 2 frame difference. I'll set into guarding. It's a 2 frame difference here. Being -6 is still not the best kind of disadvantage you want to be on in terms of neutral. However, you don't completely lose your turn now as you did before in -8. They've also decreased the strength of pushback, which is also a welcome change. More importantly, I think back turn forward 3 back, which is actually an alteration of back turn forward 3, which would put Raven back into a, of course, back turn status. And this is actually a legacy part of the string here. But previously, this was actually -11. I never understood this, and hence why I never used it before. Albeit it was a useless extension. They've actually changed this in Season 4 to make it -9. So, thus, it's now safe. It's now safe on block. Overall, I don't think any of these changes are too drastic or really, nor will I think that they'll affect her gameplay too much. I personally only really think this move is most useful when contesting opponents that like to press buttons when you go into frame advantage from back turn. So common setup for this would be 4-1, your +5 there, and you can counter hit your opponent with forward 3. Those kinds of situations are where this move is, really useful. Other than that, these small changes to block frames and startups aren't going to be too drastic in my opinion. Another range buff has been added to Raven's orbital heal, so it has seen some increased range. Before, it definitely did not hit at this range. And I noticed the change really straight away. It's quite a substantial increase of range. I don't think this is really overpowered or anything, this kind of range increase, especially considering how unsafe the move is. But I do think that this will actually inadvertently increase the range of the orbital follow-ups that follow this. So even if you happen to whiff the first part of the string, which is very hard now, look at how hard it is to whiff the first part of the string. You have to be almost range. You have to be pretty much range 3. You have to be further than range 3. But I think inadvertently, because of this range increase, it's actually increased the range of the orbital follow-ups that, other Raven players and Raven players such as myself tend to use. I do tend to use this move quite a lot as a whiff punish tool, as well as to punish get-up kicks. Hence, I do think this will greatly help with that part of Raven's gameplay. Now, Raven's QCF1 has now become hit confirmable. Another great move I like to use in Raven in and out of combos. I really think Raven's QCF1 is quite useful. It's relatively safe on block as well at -9, and it is a counter hit launcher. But now there's actually a very decent hit confirm window here, and it is completely hit confirmable now. Beforehand, it was not. The string still retains the property of being unsafe on block for the full string itself. Of course, it is still -13. However, making the move truly hit confirmable really makes the move a lot more viable now. I think I'll be using QCF1 now a lot more than I was even before. And Raven's QCF4 has also seen changes in Season 4, so they've actually buffed the lower range of the attack. QCF4 is really a move I like to use for keep out, as well as baiting opponents. I believe this buff will definitely increase the chances of overall just catching opponents who may be doing their own keep out moves at this kind of range, and if they happen to use a move that can be evasive, I think the increased lower range will make it a lot easier to catch your opponent doing so. And really, an increased lower range to any attack just increases the overall opportunity of which the opponent will get caught by this move. It is a very, very tricky move sometimes, and it's very hard to deal with. But I really think this change is going to make it a lot harder to deal with now. Again, it is still -14, so do not let Raven players get away with this move. Very similar to Raven's new move. If she's -14 in back turn, do not let her get away with it. Use your 14 frame punish or use a quicker punish if you have to. Just make sure it is not a one jab because it will whiff. Finally, in Season 4, Raven's throw game has received a big buff. As we know, Raven has a near complete throw game in front facing status. She has a 1+2 break, she has a 1 break, she's only really missing a true 2 break. And previously from back turn, the only instant throw options she had were actually just her generic ones, which could be broken by, you know, a 1 or 2 break. However, this was still useful as the animation itself would confuse opponents into thinking it was a 1+2. But now they've actually gone ahead and made it possible for Raven to perform her 1+2 throw from back turn pretty much instantly with back turn 1+4 or back turn 2+3. I personally think that this is just going to make Raven's back turn offense so much more scarier, and it is a change I've already used in tournament. I'll show some footage here.
Oh, good electrics here from Deception. Oh, back turn into throw. Ouch.
Because obviously that was the best.
Ooh, big misinput there.
Because from what I remember, Capcom does that with their stuff,
Yeah,
right?
they
They put the promotional.
They make new stages every
yeah.
Creating a 50-50 mix-up into her back turn throw, similar to characters like Hwoarang, is a massive buff overall. I think this is just going to make her back turn offense even more scarier than it was before, and it's really going to give her, you know, a lot of scary options out of back turn that your opponent's going to have to really watch out for. Any plus frame situation that you happen to get out of your opponent that transitions you into back turn, you have so many deadly options now. Like, your opponent can't really option select for anything. They really have to be conscious now, especially with something like a 1+2 throw being instantly possible out of back turn is just another scary thing to look out for. I am loving this change here, and it is definitely a big buff for her. So that was all for Raven's changes in Season 4. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. Be sure to like if you did find it useful, and also leave any comments as to what do you think about the changes yourself. Do you think they were justified, or do you think it was too much? Let me know in the comments below. Also, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any more of my videos. I tend to keep on regularly uploading here. But that was all from me today, guys. So until next time, I'll see you later. Thanks.